Hi, it's me. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? It's Monday. It's Monday, August 4th, 2025, and I'm actually sitting on this little stool thing. Sorry. I thought that was necessary to point out. Oh, I got the wiggles, guys. I have been okay. How have you been? Have you been okay? I think I was going to read a little bit of Moby-Dick because two things. Well, first, I know that you don't know, although if you know me in real life, you do know, because this is like half of all that I talk about is Moby-Dick, because I've been obsessed with Moby-Dick for like the last few months. I finished a reread through. So you have to understand that when you are drastically converted, as I was, kind of your entire understanding of everything changes, and your appreciation of things like Moby-Dick are, I don't know, for me it's like incredibly palatable. Just overwhelmingly lovely how the book Ishmael is, he's, how do I say, he's so inspiring to me, which is funny to say. But Ishmael is a great example of the kind of identity that I think used to be normal, which is the identity that is informed sort of from the outside, from his, where he was born, his religion, and I mean, fundamentally his religion, his faith, his Christianity is so baked in to his identity and the way that he views everything and tells the story. And it doesn't have to. That doesn't mean that Ishmael, is going around proclaiming things, saying, blessed is the man or woe to you kind of thing. Although he does occasionally. What you do see is a man who is depressed, suicidal, honestly, but one who knows that those things that bubble up in him aren't that's not his fate, right? His fate, he knows very well, is in the hands of God. And he is able to, with this whaling voyage, he uses it to stave off this depression that overtakes him at times. I mean, Ishmael is just like us, except not. Except I would argue that Ishmael's, his innate sense of who he is and who God is and what that means, and then what that therefore means for the rest of his entire life, and certainly for how he understands the fated voyage of the Pequod and Ahab's monomaniacal hunt for Moby-Dick. It's just so wonderfully integrated, and it's something that I know is possible and is something that I want to build in myself, kind of in this funny, completely different modern way, but to be able to live so fluidly in both worlds, in the spiritual and the terrestrial, and to be able to understand things on many levels, and to observe and reflect on all layers, right? Because I think the difficulty part of the difficulty in being a Christian is when you follow Christ, you're confronted daily by the fact that you don't have it in you. And that's why you need him. And so it's a paradox, but it's also wonderful and comforting, and it's comforting in its challenge. It's comforting in its steadiness and its everlastingness. But it's so counterculture, especially now, that we're all supposed to be building who we are from the inside out, from the ground up, even though none of us are coherent enough creatures for that to be at all feasible. I mean, maybe it's like sort of feasible for like a little bit, but then it's not consistent, and it's always changing. So this idea that we have in modernity that, this happiness is found in expressing our true selves. What does that mean? And what if expressing your true self means murdering a bunch of people? Anyway, we all know that's... I think everyone knows that not everyone gets to have their own truth. We just like saying it because it makes it so we don't have to have discomfort. We don't have to engage. We almost... It's a way to avoid community and companionship. And it's such an isolating thing. I say this as I am alone in my weird apartment talking to my computer. But I think you get the gist. So I know I did this, and so I know I was talking about two things, which was mostly Moby-Dick, but then I was going to read some Moby-Dick, but now we're already like 8 minutes into this video, but that's okay. I have still this desire to read. Yes, this is my Kindle. I do have I have like a book, but the Kindle, because I read it before sleepy time, and I like to have all the lights out and drift off thinking of Ishmael. Oh, I wrote some Moby Dick fan fiction. Did I already say that? I can't remember. I did. It's not very long, but it does pick up where the book leaves off. And I guess I could read that. No. Okay. I just really like, so this is chapter 26, and he's introducing Starbuck. And there are so many things before this, but this is an example, and this is like I said, throughout the text, Ishmael has these kind of asides where it's almost like he's kind of going on this tangent, but it is one that speaks to more sort of universal truth. And so that's what I'm going to read from chapter 26 of Moby-Dick, called Knights and Squires. Not to be confused with chapter 27, also called Knights and Squires. But were the coming narrative to reveal in any instance the complete abasement of poor Starbuck's fortitude, scarce might I have the heart to write it, but it is a thing most sorrowful, nay shocking, to expose the fall of valor in the soul. Men may seem detestable as joint stock companies and nations. Knaves, fools, and murderers there may be. Men may have mean and meager faces. But man, in the ideal, is so noble and so sparkling, such a grand and glowing creature, that over any ignominious blemish in him all his fellows should run to throw their costliest robes. That immaculate manliness we feel within ourselves, so far within us, that it remains intact, though all the outer characters seem gone, bleeds with keenest anguish at the undraped spectacle of a valor-ruined man. Nor can piety itself, at such a shameful sight, completely stifle her upbraidings against the permitting stars. But this august dignity I treat of is not the dignity of kings and robes, but that abounding dignity which has no robed investiture. Thou shalt see it shining in the arm that wields a pick or drives a spike, that democratic dignity which on all hands radiates without end from God, himself, the great God absolute, the center and circumference of all democracy, his omnipresence, our divine equality. If then, to meanest mariners and renegades and castaways, I shall hereafter ascribe high qualities, though dark, weave around them tragic graces, if even the most mournful, perchance the most abased among them all, shall at times lift himself to the exalted mounts, if I shall touch that workman's arm with some ethereal light, if I shall spread a rainbow over his disastrous set of sun, then against all mortal critics, bear me out in it, thou just spirit of equality, which hast spread one royal mantle of humanity over all my kind. Bear me out in it, thou great democratic God, who didst not refuse to swart convict Bunyan, the pale poetic pearl, thou who didst clothe with doubly hammered leaves of finest gold the stumped and poppered arm of old Cervantes, thou who didst pick up Andrew Jackson from the pebbles, who didst hurl him upon a war horse, who didst thunder him higher than a throne, thou who, in all thy mighty earthly marchings, ever cullest thy selectest champions from the kingly commoners, bear me out in it, O God. So good. So, what am I trying to say? Just that you should read Moby-Dick. And, that these lovely tangential wordy wanderings of Ishmael ring so beautifully true and are so delightful for me to both read aloud, read to myself, read always, because they're inspiring and they help me to better understand myself and my writing, and I don't know, everything. Is that a lofty thing to say? I did write a poem last week, sort of off the cuff, for therapy. Yes, I'll say it again, for therapy. just to, and maybe you should be able to see some. The great thing about reading Moby-Dick sort of endlessly is that it's infected my brain, and so it's fun to write with that voice in my head, because it's such a, I don't know, it's so fun. It's such a lovely voice. So even though this video is growing long, and I dare say seems to be grasping at points here and there, I'll just read you this poem that I wrote for therapy, that, because I think she said something like, you should write a goodbye letter to your eating disorder. And I was like, no, I could probably do something like a little bit more interesting. So I wrote this poem that does not have a title. Here goes. I think I didn't edit it, so it's not perfect, but I'm just gonna start. How long we've embraced in secret hollow, carving up this body for perfect tomorrow, marching to endless drum, war of attrition, our stalemate face betrays ruthless mission. Till death do us part, cruel covenantal duty, our love dependent on a vanishing beauty. Ever smaller, ever farther, ever twisting so, hard, lost, losing days, our everlasting fallow. Farewell, dark sister, for the war has ended. I'll battle no more for this lie long defended. I have surrendered instead to this dear flesh, submitting myself to kind king in the creche. For from him flow such streams of living water, and I feast on fatted calf as prodigal daughter. It's fun. It's fun. It's always fun to rhyme flesh with creche. Yeah. I gotta wrap it up, guys, because I'm now just really losing. There's no full thrust to this video. It's just, what am I going to title it? Moby-Dick and Friends. Yeah. I hope you're okay. It's a daily thing, you know? It's a daily thing. And those of us in Christ need to be always thankful that we're not on our own. 'Cause that's a nightmare. Okay. I hope you've had a good Monday. I hope you have a good week. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.